Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love of the author and me. On to the show. After Xingchen and instructor Daika finished their meal, they drove back to the dormitory together. After saying goodnight to instructor Daika, Xingchen went back to his room first. But he didn't come back to sleep. It's also dark today, and it's time to dig for treasure. The boys are all sitting around with nothing to do. Hearing Xingchen's greeting, he immediately took action. Treasure digging is in the depths of those giant mountains entwined with vines. Naturally, the professional clearing machine must be brought along, and the two suspension vehicles must also be driven. Xingchen thought for a while, and asked Bailu to bring the small cleaning machine with him. Although this thing is small, but this time we will dig deeper into Fujiyama, maybe we will use it. This professional clearing vehicle is relatively strong and durable. During the day, Dang Dang drove it for a whole day of high-intensity operations, but the various accessories on this vehicle are still in good condition. It seems that they are connected. Doing this for dozens of days is fine. The lakeside is not far from the dormitory, and Xingchen brought his younger brother to the 557th place in a short while. When Xingchen came over to dump the waste during the day, he just took a cursory look, confirmed that there were treasures inside, and then rushed back to work. I didn't carefully investigate the collective situation of the treasures inside. There is no other interference at the moment, so it is natural to check the exact location of the treasure and its surroundings first. Here is a mountain made of vines, and the treasure is deep under the entire vine mountain, so it is not so easy to dig it out. Xingchen drove the suspension car to the place where the waste was dumped before, confirmed the location of the treasure, and then started to circle around. The purpose of spinning around is to let Rhubarb take a good look at the surrounding environment. That treasure is about 2 to 3 meters high at the bottom of the lake, where the vines are the thickest, and it is also the most solid area of these vegetables discovered by Rhubarb. It is said that this vine mountain is only more than 30 meters high. Even if the lake has a certain depth, the shortest distance from the location of the treasure to the outside is only less than 40 meters. It's just that the 40 meters are not easy to penetrate. This professional clearing vehicle was originally designed to work in a horizontal direction. Even if the working direction can have a certain angle, it can't reach the level of going straight up and down. Therefore, it is impossible to directly penetrate the vines from the mountain to the location of the treasure with the cleaning vehicle. If you want to hit the treasure, you can only hit it from the side, so the vine mountain that needs to be pierced will be much longer. The purpose of Stardust to study the surrounding environment is to find the most optimal channel direction. Stardust walked around for 10 minutes, and finally confirmed the best location. If you penetrate diagonally from here, you can reach the treasure, and you need to penetrate the least mountain, the least time-consuming, and the highest security. Although the little robot is going to work, the safety requirements are not very high. Even if any danger occurs, there is a high probability that it will not be endangered to the extent of being scrapped. But Dang Dang and Walla have been with him for so long, no matter what, if something happens and they are buried, Xingchen will naturally find a way to save him. But such a big mountain of vines naturally has a lot of living flowers to save. So for the safety of my little brother, in order to prevent wasting his little savings, Xingchen carefully planned the safest and most reliable route. Once the location has been chosen, the next step is to start working. Dang Dang was still driving the cleaning vehicle this time, but when driving the suspension vehicle, Hua La got on the borrowed large suspension vehicle first. Well, the work efficiency of Walla is higher, and it is okay to drive more. Then he got on Stardust's own suspension car, and after starting it, he lined up behind Hua La's suspension car, waiting to take over the position of Hua La. This slicker is so active at work? At first, I wanted to let it trim the messy vine branches in the passage, but I didn't expect it to run to drive by itself. Turn it on, when it's cold pruning, turn it on to clear it. All three vehicles were driven by younger brothers, but Xingchen was idle. But this vine mountain, Stardust only searched around in the direction close to the dormitory, and has not explored in the further direction. It just so happens that the younger brothers are all working, and Xingchen has nothing to do, So let's go around this small lake to see the situation. Going around the lake is not only to see the situation, but also to digest food. It wasn't long after Shinchan finished his meal, so he naturally didn't want to sit still, but the younger brothers took away the opportunity to work, and when it was his turn, he could only go around and investigate the information. The meal just now was considered the most delicious and energy-rich meal that Stardust has eaten since he traveled here. I have eaten a few meals in the hotel before, but those are only common meals, so it's okay to be hungry, so I can't say anything about the energy. The spiritual beast meat meal eaten at the Budokan this time is still very rich in spiritual energy. After the meat was digested, it turned into strands of spiritual breath that was absorbed by Shinchan's body, and then began to flow slowly following the trend of Shinchan's luck during his practice. These spiritual breaths travel around the body, are absorbed by the cells everywhere, and are transformed into various energies for the body. Once the body's energy is full, people will be a little excited. Even if Shinchan doesn't need to investigate the surrounding situation, he still needs to move around to consume the excess energy. There are also some advantages to this turn. Rhubarb found another treasure in another location in the lake. This newly discovered treasure is even better than the one discovered during the day, and its energy is 2 points stronger. With such a discovery, Shinchan is also very happy, but after going on, there is no new discovery. However, 2 useful treasures grew out of one lake, which was enough to make Stardust happy. Wait for Stardust to return to the previously determined excavation location. The little brothers have already cleared away a layer around this place. A vine mountain like this cannot be excavated directly. The outermost vines are the most tender vines, full of moisture and relatively brittle. If such vines are piled up together, if the bottom is empty, it will easily break and collapse and crush the excavating vehicles. Cause an accident. The excavation plan formulated by Shinchan is to remove the outermost layer of tender vines first, at least remove the vines within 10 meters around the excavation site. The old vines exposed under the tender stalks are much stronger, enough to maintain the passage dug below. Seeing that the younger brothers are making good progress, Shin Kong is naturally very happy. However, this channel was opened according to the planned route, and at least 117 meters of vines had to be removed. These vines grow layer upon layer, stacked together. There is me and you and me, and I don't know how many vines are growing among them. Maybe there is only one vine growing in the entire lake, or maybe hundreds of thousands of vines 2.0 are combined to form such a vine mountain in this lake. Anyway, Rhubarb searched a large circle, but did not find out exactly how many vines there are. Anyway, the vines that need to be removed are so thick, and now we can only wait for the younger brothers to dig through them. Shinchan stared here for a while, but he didn't intend to stay any longer. The working process here is a bit slow, no more than during the day. Most of the vines that need to be cleared are relatively tender vines, so the speed is still fast. The vines here are old vegetables, as old as you want, as hard as you want, and the removal speed is much slower. After roughly estimating the time, the younger brothers would have to work here for at least 10 hours to dig in place, so Shinchan turned around and continued running around. It's really running laps, running around the lake. This time I ate enough. I need to exercise to consume excess energy, otherwise I will probably suffer from insomnia in a while. After running about 20 laps, Zingdust stopped. A lap like this is about more than 1 kilometer, and running more than 20 laps in a row is equivalent to running half a marathon. That sounds like a lot, but on the planet here, most of them are pretty good, so running such a small distance is nothing. After running, Shinchan went over to his little brother to see the progress of tunnel digging. Hey! These vines are really difficult to clean up from the outside to the inside. These vines become harder and harder as you dig in, and denser and thicker as you dig down. It seems that the construction period is likely to be extended. Shinchan had no good way to do this. He could only cheer up the younger brothers, and then went back to the dormitory to rest. These boys are robots and don't need to rest. He is different. Human beings of flesh and blood have to sleep on time to supplement sleep time. The dormitory is relatively quiet. The 3 younger brothers are busy at the lake, and Shinchan himself is here. Of course, they are also relatively quiet when there are younger brothers around. They don't talk indiscriminately. At most they make some noise when they walk around. This is the Budokan, so it should be relatively safe. However, various small bugs or other small creatures in the plant forest here may still come out to cause trouble. These cannot but be guarded against. It's just that 25 doesn't need to call those younger brothers back because of these trivial matters. There are still 2 little followers on Stardust's spaceship. When Stardust went to pick up scrap metal earlier, he was escorted by 2 robots, and those 2 robots were specialized combat robots. Although due to problems in materials and energy supply, the strength of these 2 guard robots is not strong, they are only about the level of human level 4, Song can deal with the agouti rat thing. But Stardust took both of them with him when he left Junkstar. However, the strength of these 2 is too weak, so I didn't call them out when I went around afterwards, but let them huddle together and squeeze them in a small corner of the spaceship to save space. Recently, they have been left out in the cold, and there is no way. On this outside planet, there are individuals who are stronger than the 2 of them, and it is useless to let them follow. They are still dedicated guard robots, and they can't help with other things, such as driving a car, let alone flying a spaceship. Can only eat ashes on one side. This time, the 3 younger brothers of Shinchan went to dig treasures, and it was finally the turn of these 2. Shinchan went to the spaceship and called these 2 over. They couldn't do anything else, but they could stand watch at the door of the dormitory overnight, killing a bug or something. Someone was on duty at the door, and Shinchan finally rested in peace. This night had a good dream. Of course I dreamed of something. Shinchan also forgot about it when he got up early, he just felt that he had a good rest. It was just dawn when Stardust woke up, not too late. Calculating this time point, the main reason is that he has to go to the lake to inspect, and by the way, call the younger brothers back to start the work here. The treasures in the lake were produced on the territory of the Budokan. If you dig for the treasure in broad daylight, even if you find it, once the people in the Budokan see it, it will be yours. So during the daytime, Stardust is not going to continue digging there. Shinchan plans to let the younger brothers clear the plant forest here in the dormitory during the day, and go there to dig treasures at night. Anyway, it's digging treasure quietly, don't make any noise. Shinchan went out. This time the vehicles were all working at the lake, he didn't have a means of transportation. But the road was not far away, and Shinchan arrived at the location where the tunnel was dug after a few minutes of running. The 3 younger brothers here are still busy digging the tunnel. After a night of work, the tunnel has been dug in more than 90 meters. Not far from this passage, there are several large piles of waste, which were dug out from the passage. This progress is not bad, but Rhubarb said that the difficulty of the last 20 meters has increased. It turns out that the vines here are the oldest and hardest ones, which are probably the first to grow, and the growth time is too long, so the vines in these locations are extraordinarily difficult to remove. Stardust also noticed that at this time, the removal vehicle driven by Dang Dang had removed less than half of the vines removed in a unit time than when it was on the periphery. According to this progress, I am afraid that it will take another 7 or 8 hours to complete the work. In this case, Shinchan is going to ask the younger brothers to call it a day, and wait until the evening to continue. But before Shinchan gave orders, Rhubarb made a new discovery. Master, there seems to be something wrong with the treasure that grew under the vine. The energy in it is losing. Now the energy in the treasure has lost 2 points compared to yesterday's excavation. I'll go. What's the situation? Why does this thing still disappear? If the energy in the treasure is lost when I dig it, then I will dig in vain. I can't even earn a hair. How fast is the energy loss in the treasure? How long will it take to lose light and lose its effectiveness? According to the current rate of loss, a point of energy will be lost every 4 hours. These energies have moved to the part that has been cleared, probably to repair the damage, but the clearing continues, so these energies have been lost, go out. I am dizzy, this is not possible, this time digging out treasures to sell, naturally the better the treasure, the higher the selling price. Now the energy of the treasure is losing, and the price of the treasure will naturally drop when the energy is low. It seems impossible to wait until night to dig. From here to night, there are still about 10 hours left. This is another 3 or 4 hours of energy loss. You have to dig for several hours at night, and you have to continue to lose it. But it's big. No, it won't be until night, so I can only dig continuously during the day to get the treasure directly. Seeing this situation, Xingqian could only make up his mind and continue digging tunnels until all the treasures were obtained. As for whether the problem will be discovered by others, at this moment, we can only hope that no one is idle and has nothing to do, and 627 will find the abnormality here. However, Xingqian hoped that others would not find out what happened here, but it was still in vain. Just when Xingqian tried his best to hide the movement here and speed up the excavation, an uninvited guest arrived. Instructor Daika turned around from the side of the Vine Mountain. When Xingqian found him, the instructor was only more than 200 meters away from him. Because the plants here are too luxuriant, Xingqian didn't notice the instructor coming, but it was Rhubarb who found someone coming from the energy reaction soul fluctuation. But Rhubarb's warning range is only that big, and when it was discovered, the instructor also noticed the situation here. There is no way, the noise of this professional cleaning vehicle is too loud, even though it has penetrated deep into the vines, but in this quiet area, these noises cannot be hidden from others, especially the experienced instructors. Xingqian hurried forward, thinking of saying hello, and then covered it up by rambling. It's best to get away with this matter. If you can't get away with it, then you have to withdraw. The treasure here is not my own in the first place, let others find out. I have no other tricks to resolve it. However, Instructor Daika came very quickly. When Xingqian went up to meet him, he was no more than 40 meters away from the entrance of the passage. This distance is such a large passage entrance. Naturally, Instructor Daika discovered this place abnormal. Instructor Daika approached and saw the passage on the side of the Vine Mountain. Stardust boy, I didn't see you clearing the vines over there this morning, so I thought you didn't get up. I didn't expect you to come here to dig vine treasures. With these words, how can Xingqian answer? It is true that there are treasures in the Fuji mountain, and it is also true that Xingqian came to dig them. But this mountain of vines grew in other people's martial arts gym, so it should belong to the martial arts hall. Now that Xingqian came to dig treasures privately, it was considered a thief. If others don't pursue it, it's better to say something. If they do, they will have to pay for it. But it's best to be fooled about this matter, and of course it's best to lie about it. Instructor Daika, what is the vine treasure you are talking about? Is it growing in the Vine Mountain? You don't know Tingbao? Then why are you digging here? Instructor Daika looked at Xingqian suspiciously and said, when I dumped the waste here yesterday, I saw that the mountain of vines was growing very vigorously, and there should be some good fruit kernels at the bottom, so I dug inside, and it would be a good thing if I dug out something good. Nothing can be dug out, and it doesn't take much effort, it will take 2 days at most. After hearing Xingqian's words, Instructor Daika didn't become suspicious, but nodded and said, plants with strong spiritual energy and vigorous growth will easily grow these core crystals or fruits with sufficient energy after a long time. This kind of vine, commonly known as the ground-born vine, is extremely active in life. Once it takes root and grows in a place with sufficient fertilizer, after a long time a false fruit will grow near the root of the vine. This false fruit contains the life activity and energy that this vine has absorbed and stored for many years. We call this false fruit Tingbao. It turned out to be such a vine treasure, the life essence of the vine. But this vine is old enough. Does the martial arts hall know that it has a vine treasure? Why didn't it take it out? 20. Instructor Daika rolled Xingqian's eyes and said, this thing has been here for so long, of course the Budokan knows that there may be vine treasures in it, but do you think this thing is so easy to dig? Is it difficult? Although the mountain of vines is bigger, if we find more powerful cleaning vehicles and more people to clean it up together, it should take a few days to clear it up, right? It's easy to say, although this rattan treasure is quite rare, but the value is not too high. In previous years, the transaction price was only hundreds of thousands of laras. But this mountain of vines occupies a huge area. If it is completely cleared, the Budokan once asked professional shops to quote a price, and there is no price lower than 3 million rels. Do you think the Budokan will spend 3 to 4 million lars in cleaning costs for the rattan treasures of hundreds of thousands of lars? Isn't this a loss of money? Or several times the money? Will it cost millions of rels to clear the mountain of vines? That's not worth it. It's not just a futile thing, this kind of vine treasure is also a troublesome thing. Once you start to clear the vines to find the vine treasure, then the vine will extract the activity and nutrient supply from the vine treasure due to the injury of the vine. The parts are repaired. This causes a continuous loss of energy in the rattan treasure. This kind of loss will continue to be lost due to the continuous damage of the vines. The longer you delay clearing the vines, the more damage those vines will cause, and the greater the energy loss in the vine treasure will be. The clearing time given by those shops is generally about 4 to 7 days. Even if additional vehicles and manpower are added, this time will not be much shorter. This makes the Budokan, even if it costs 3 to 4 million rels, the final vine it might just be an empty shell. You said that's such a risky investment, what would the Budokan do? From this point of view, there is really no need to dig this vine treasure. It's just such a thing. Everyone knows it's in it, but it's not worthwhile to invest too much, so just throw it here and leave it alone. Instructor Daika, since the Budokan left it here, it shouldn't matter if I dig it up? You can dig it if you want, it's a matter of losing money anyway. But if you just make a tunnel to go in like this, can you really dig vine treasure? Usually, none of the experts who dig vine treasures will dig such difficult vines. They all go to the barren hills to find the kind of huge vines that climb all over the mountain. Although they are also huge, the roots are not like this. It's as high as a vine. As long as the vines that climb all over the mountain find the root, they can easily find the vine treasures and remove them. The energy loss in the vine treasures obtained in this way will be smaller, and the value will naturally be higher. Shinchan's way of taking the vine treasure, the chance of success is not high. Who knows if the passage you opened will lead to the vine treasure right there. Daika Church, I have planted some plants before, and I have some experience in this area. When I dumped the waste here yesterday, I carefully studied these vines. Although these exposed vines look similar, there is not much difference in appearance and leaves. But if you really look closely, you will find a little difference. As Shinchan said, he brought the Daika Church to the area where the vines had been cleared out before, and pointed out those vines to teach Daika's instructor a lesson. Look at these vines, most of them are active energy common vines. There are only 7 growth buds on each vine, and the most are 9. However, among these vines, there are some very active vines, and each vine has a full 12 growth buds. I feel that these active vines are very likely to grow that vine treasure. So I along Qianwanhao, the most active vines, extend in reverse until the bottom position. After reversing the direction of many vines, I probably confirmed that a place more than 100 square meters away from Fengyuan is most likely to grow vine treasures. The passage I opened now extends to that location. You can deduce this? Instructor Daika didn't quite believe it. But Stardust has dug such a long tunnel, so he is naturally a little confident. Instructor Daika didn't think that Shinchan was completely talking nonsense. Of course, Instructor Daika is fine at this meeting, and he is happy to dig tunnels here with Shinchan to pass the time. Shinchan saw that the Instructor Daika did not pursue the matter of digging the vine treasure privately. The instructor is also allowed to watch the robot remove the vines. Anyway, he just wants to drive people away, and he won't move if they don't leave. Besides, this is someone else's land, so there is no reason for a tenant to drive someone away. Dang Dang is still digging hard at the end of the passage, and the other 2 younger brothers are also taking turns dumping the waste out of the passage. Time passed just like that, and the tunnel was dug another 10 meters away. Seeing that there was less than 10 meters left before digging to the position of the vine treasure, Shinchan gradually became excited. This is hundreds of thousands of laras. If the money is in hand, at least a few months of living expenses will be settled. Think about the life where you can eat the spiritual meal every day, it is wonderful. Although instructor Daika discovered the act of digging the vine treasure privately this time, judging from the instructor Daika's attitude towards this matter, the Budokan does not think it is wrong to dig the vine treasure privately. That being the case, Shinchan was not so worried. However, it is better for fewer people to know about this matter. If more people know about it, many things will be difficult to handle. In this case, if a master who is not so easy to talk to comes, he may be busy in vain. Shinchan thinks so, but in life, things are often unsatisfactory. 9 out of 10. Shinchan is still chatting with instructor Daika. The sound of a suspended car in the distance came from far and near. From the appearance of the sound to the time when the car stopped and followed, it only took more than 10 seconds. With such a fast suspension car, no need to ask, it must be an old driver. The person who came was none other than Uncle Pafu, the big man who bought Yuan Shinchan's goods twice. Boy Stardust, you didn't clean up the dormitory well, why did you suddenly want to dig treasures? Are you so free? These two are quite shrewd. One can see what Shinchan is doing here by looking at the posture on Shinchan's side. Master Pafu, I just saw that there should be good products here, so I came here to try. The vine treasures here are not so easy to dig. If they were easy to dig, they would have been dug away. You are 227, trying in vain. Why don't you clean up the vines over there in the dormitory? Before Shinchan could reply, Instructor Daika spoke. How do you know that boy Zingdust is wasting his efforts in vain? He has a secret, and he might be able to get Dubao easily. Uncle Pafa showed a hint of contempt. How can there be so many secrets? If there is any secret to this thing, it will be a bad street. What do you know? Shinchan's family has a long history, so why doesn't he have any secrets? I'll surprise you when Tingbao digs it up. Stardust boy, do you really have a secret? Master, it's not really a secret, it's just something I've analyzed after carefully checking the growth of these vines. Oh. It seems that you are very likely to dig up vine treasure. I don't know, who dares to guarantee the ticket, I can only say that there is a chance, and whether you can find it depends on luck. Just dig it out if you have the chance. Boy Stardust, let me tell you, this land belongs to the Budokan. These vines grow in the lake of the Budokan. When it comes to the ownership of this vine treasure, the Budokan will take the majority. Huh? What does this mean? If you dig it up, it will become the property of the Budokan. So if I don't dig it up, it's still okay? Shinchan was thinking like this, but he didn't speak yet. The Daika church nearby spoke. I said, Old man Pafu, you have to save face. Although the vine treasure in this lake belongs to the Budokan, it is naturally raised. Whoever digs it is the owner. The Budokan thinks it is not worth digging and give up. That's right, the boy Stardust has worked so hard to dig out the vine treasure, and now you're in the possession of the martial arts hall, why don't you go grab it? Daika, why are you in a hurry? I just said that the land belongs to the Budokan. This Fujibao Budokan should have a share. I didn't say that Fujibao would be confiscated. Why are you shouting so loudly? You old man, you just want to take advantage every day, and now you see that Shinchan is going to dig out Tingbao, so you jump out to take advantage? You two gentlemen, stop arguing. It's not worth it because of this little thing. At worst, I won't dig this thing. It's not worth much anyway. It's not worth arguing about it. Don't. You have to dig if you have to. I said that the land is the land of the Budokan. It doesn't mean anything else. Is the rattan treasure you dug out for yourself or do you want to sell it for money? I didn't intend to use this, I just dug it up and wanted to sell it for some money. The cost of living here is too high, so I can live a more relaxed life by saving more money. Well. It's good that you dug it to sell money. When I said that the place is the Budokan, I didn't mean to take your vine treasure for nothing, but that you sell this vine treasure to me, but you have to call me. Discount, how about a 50% discount, even if I take advantage of it, I bought it myself, and it's for my grandson, it's not paid by the public. Oh. Grandpa, if you use it for your own use, then I'll give it to you. What's the cost? Anyway, I just use the cleaning truck for a day or two, and it doesn't cost much. Pafu, you see that Xingchen is very authentic in his work. He is looking at you, and he wants to take advantage of the little guy. Although the value of this thing itself is not high, but at this time of year, every family spends a lot of money to go to the mountains. If you collect this from here, the money spent is much higher than the price of Tingbao itself. You still want to buy it at a discount, or 50% off, and you say it's not a grab. I can't stand it anymore. Daika, you have been arguing with me. Do you want to buy this fine treasure too? Don't say no. I know that a few students you know are also stuck. They need this thing to level up. As long as you know it, you don't just want this thing, those few students must also want it. Are you still thinking of buying it at a discount? They can buy it at a higher price, and they say you are not robbing. Seeing that Daika had told the truth, Uncle Pafu blushed. Xingchen, you should sell this fine treasure to me. Like this, don't give it 50% off, 40% off, 30% off. I'll buy this fine treasure at 30% off, what do you think? The main reason is that my grandson happened to be stuck in the late stage of the 3rd level of the prefecture level and couldn't make it through. In 3 months' time, it will be the martial arts ranking tournament. More than 30 martial arts halls on the entire planet will each send 5 students to participate in the ranking. Great battle. This ranking battle is related to the ranking of the Budokan this year and next, and it is also crucial to the future development. If my grandson can use the Rattan treasure to break through the barrier and reach the 4th level of the prefecture level, then he will definitely get a better ranking in the ranking battle, and the martial arts hall can also get more resources. This is also very good for the students in the hall. Helpful. Instructor Daika did not refute Master Pafu's words, and it seems that these are also true. But Daika still said, there is not only one student of your grandson in the Budokan who needs to step up, there are several students who are also in the late stage of the 3rd level of the prefecture level. Those students can also get good rankings in the ranking battle. Uncle Pafu saw that Daika wanted to compete with him for the treasure, and he was a little anxious. He pulled Xingchen and said, Master, I have taken care of your business twice, and even helped you find a house to live in. You will help me this time. Help me, uncle, sell this Rattan treasure to me. These two haven't seen Tingbao being dug out yet, so it's time to compete. Although Xingchen himself knew that he would definitely be able to dig out the Tingbao, the two of them didn't see what was dug up, so they fought here, and they were confident enough in themselves. Both uncles want it, one offers 30% off, and the other can buy it at full price. I am afraid that the price difference between them will have to be more than 100 or 200,000. But Mr. Pafu is his regular customer, and he will be relied on to take care of the business in the future. If he doesn't sell it to him this time, I'm afraid it will be embarrassing in the future. Xingchen couldn't bear it, so he could only agree to sell it to Mr. Pafu. The uncle got Xingchen's approval letter, and immediately became happy, as if Tingbao had already been obtained. Instructor Daika was not too disappointed about this, probably he bought it for other students, and it's okay if he can't buy it, so he just stood aside and said nothing. More than 2 minutes later, Xiao Xiao finally opened the passage. The meaning of opening up means that Dang Dang opened the passage all the way to the side of the Rattan treasure. This vine treasure grows on a thick vine, which is probably about 1.56 meters in diameter. The so-called vine treasure is a protrusion growing on the vine. From this, it can be seen that this Rattan treasure is about the size of a bathtub. According to Rhubarb's investigation, most of the space in this meaning is filled with a liquid, and only the most central part has a hard ball the size of a football. The most active part is the hard ball the size of a football. Of course, the activity and energy contained in those liquids are also quite a lot. These are all seen by Dang Dang, received by Da Huang, and projected in Xingchen's mind. Now that the place has been dug, the next step is to take it down and get it in your hand. Dang Dang didn't hesitate, and immediately started cutting the vines on both sides of the vine treasure. Only by cutting off these two sides can the vine treasure be taken out. At this time a vacancy has been opened up where Tingbao is located. Chilio drove the smaller suspension vehicle in, and when Dang Dang was cutting the main vines, the suspension vehicle stopped under Dubao. After more than 10 minutes of harsh noise, it stopped. That rattan treasure has landed firmly on the suspension car. Seeing things getting on the car, Ba Lu drove the suspension car out of this passage, without hesitation. The three people outside the passage had been waiting for a long time, and this meeting finally saw the real thing. Seeing that the Tingbao dugout was such a big deal, the eyes of the two uncles showed surprise, and the corners of Pafu's mouth even grinned. Stardust doesn't matter, this thing is dug out for money, bigger and smaller is just a question of how much money, the difference should not be too big, anyway, it's discounted by Master Pafu, and it's more than 100,000 reals less. This thing will be bigger and won't cost much. Chilio parked the car in front of the three of them, and the two uncles immediately went forward to inspect it. This thing had just been cut off from the vine, and there were vines more than half a meter long at both ends of Tingbao. At this time, the cut was still dripping with sweat, which made Uncle Pafu very distressed. What comes out is the essence. Instructor Daika looked around and gave his opinion. This rattan treasure is so big, the juice inside is also very full, and the appearance is good. This vine treasure is not bad. What price do you want to sell for Stardust? Tell the uncle a price. I have to buy it quickly and send it to my grandson. If there is a delay, the essence inside will be lost. Master, please give it to me. I don't know much about the market price of this thing. I'm afraid the price quoted may not be reasonable. When Uncle Pafu heard this, he thought of paying a price to buy the goods. But Instructor Daika stopped him from talking. Pafu, don't underestimate the price. Xingchen has worked so hard to dig out the Tingbao, and he has already given you a 30% discount. If you quote a lower price again, it will be too embarrassing. Pafu's mind was broken by people's words, and his old face was a little red, but he still said bravely, how could I do that? The price of this thing is relatively transparent, and the price of a rattan treasure like this is at least 700,000 reals, am I right? Bah. You also said that you didn't underestimate the price. For a rattan treasure of this size, at least 800,000 laras, you only reported 700,000 laras. If I hadn't been here to watch today, Stardust Boy would have been killed by you. How much is it going to be hacked? Uncle Pafu did not immediately refute after hearing Daika's words. It is estimated that such a big Fujibao does cost so much money. Okay, 800,000 is 800,000. Boy Stardust negotiated with me to give me a 30% discount. That's right. Seeing that Daika did not object again, Master Pafu continued. 800,000 30% off, that's 560,000 laras, sir, I won't let you wipe it off, so I'll give you 560,000 laras. As soon as the words came out, Daika shook his head when he heard it. Who is this? Let others sell things with a 30% discount to get a big deal, and want to wipe away the change, hey? Xingchen didn't care anymore. After hearing Uncle Pafu's bid, he nodded his head in approval. Seeing that Xingchen agreed, Uncle Pafu immediately paid the bill, and while paying, he urged Xingchen to quickly move Shuebao to his own suspension vehicle. Naturally, Xingchen arranged for the younger brothers to move Tingbao to the uncle's car. On the other side, after paying the money, Mr. Pafu drove away in the suspension car as soon as he greeted him, apparently in a hurry to send Tingbao to his precious grandson. Daika was not surprised by this. Xingchen boy, you dug up the vine treasure and never thought about using it yourself? Although your strength is still a bit weak, you can still use the vine treasure to advance to the next level. Instructor Daika, I haven't seen this thing before, and I don't know how to use it. Naturally, I haven't thought about using this thing to upgrade. Besides, my current strength is still very low, and I haven't encountered any bottlenecks in my promotion, so I don't need external force to help me advance. That's right, your strength is low now, and it's actually not that difficult to advance. The price of this kind of vine treasure is not too high, because there are not so many people who can use it to upgrade. Generally, it is not that difficult for monks of the first to third ranks to upgrade. As long as they practice diligently and supplement with spiritual food, they will be able to upgrade. It just takes a little longer. That is, from the third level up, until the fifth level and the sixth level, the rattan treasure will be used to level up. If the strength is higher, this thing will not be very useful. And this thing can only be used once, and it will not have the benefit of breaking through the barrier when it is used for the second time, so there are even fewer monks who want to buy it, that is, those who have better family conditions and are in this cultivators at the lower stage will think of using it to open ranks. Pafu is in a hurry to buy Tingbao for his grandson this time. The bigger factor is that he wants to get a good ranking in the ranking tournament in a few months. His grandson will have the opportunity to inherit this martial arts gym in the future. I think if you want to convince the public in the future, you must have corresponding strength and record. Xingqian nodded to show that he understands that if he wants to inherit property like the martial arts gym, his own strength is the most important thing. If he can't convince all kinds of people in the gym in the future, then who will have the final say in this martial arts gym? The vine treasures here have been dug, and the remaining passages can be left alone. These vines will automatically repair the damage. I am afraid that after a few days or more, the gap here will disappear. Xingqian asked the younger brothers to pack up their own things, and then began to transition. Seeing that Xingqian started packing up, Daika thought that he was going back to the dormitory. Naturally, he chatted with Xingqian 11 and waited to go together. This is because Daika has been an instructor for a long time, and he has not changed his habit of being a good teacher. Now that he has retired and has no students to teach, he usually panics about being idle and bored. To pour out the goods in the stomach, naturally I don't want to let it go. It doesn't matter to Xingqian, this Uncle Daika knows a lot of things. There are many things that Xingqian must not know if he is not a resident here. This will help him to popularize science, and he will be able to avoid many mistakes in the future. After the younger brothers had brought all their things, Xingqian led the younger brothers around the lake and chatted with the uncle. Although Uncle Daika was a bit surprised why Xingqian didn't go back directly from the lake, but went around the lake before walking, but anyway, nothing happened, just happened to go for a walk together, so he didn't ask much, just talked to Xingqian about some cultivation things. This turned to another Tingbao location that Rhubarb had detected. This side is a bit different from the location of the vine treasure just now. The bottom of the lake here is deeper, so the location where the vine treasure grows is deeper into the lake, at least 2 or 3 meters lower than the one just now. In addition, the vine mountain here is not that high, but it is bigger. If the vine mountain over there was a strong man, then the vine mountain here is equivalent to a short and fat man. With such a mountain shape, it is more troublesome to dig, because to open a passage, the distance required to dig is longer. Xingqian calculated carefully on the mountain, at least a passage of more than 130 meters must be dug here to dig out Quibao. Seeing that Xingqian walked halfway and then went up to play on the rattan mountain, Daika thought he was looking at the scenery, so he said, "Xingqian, the mountain here is not high enough to see any good scenery. The scenery on the big mountain behind is interesting. However, there will be some common spirit grass growing on these vines. It has no great medicinal effect, but it tastes good when cooked with spirit beast meat. However, I haven't made meals here, so I haven't picked it. This thing, if you cook and eat it by yourself in the future, you can learn to recognize it and pick it up later. There are still spiritual grasses growing on these vines, then you can pick some and eat them later." Xingqian responded casually, but he kept moving here, and began to demarcate an area for Dang Dang and the others to clear the relatively tender outer layer of the tomb. Uncle Daika saw that Xingqian had set up another formation here, and asked, strangely, "What are you doing here?" Xingqian was also a little surprised why Uncle Daika asked such a question, but he still explained, "Here, of course, we are digging vine treasures. We can't just want to clear up this mountain of vines, so my car is probably not enough to look at. The ones that are cleared are not as fast as the regeneration. Don't bother, it's impossible for this vine treasure to grow two in one area. This is the experience of those professional vine treasure diggers, and it can't be wrong." Xingchen thought to himself, I found this out from Rhubarb's investigation, there is nothing wrong with it, but I can't tell you this. Instructor Daika, when I observed the vine mountain before, I found abnormalities in the growth points of the vines in these two places. I have dug out vine treasures over there, so I should be able to find them here too. If you observe abnormalities, there is a chance for Tingbao, but the experience of those professionals should not make mistakes, right? Then I don't know. It may also be that there are too many plant-treated waste piled up in this lake. The fertilizer is too rich, so there are two vine treasures. It's really possible to say that. By the way, if you want to dig out the vine treasure this time, you must sell it to me. I came first to the last vine treasure, but that old guy Pafu snatched it. Go, he is your regular customer, I will not say anything. If this one is dug up, it will have to be sold to me. Of course it will be sold if it is dug up. If you want it, instructor, you can. But I'm afraid that Mr. Pafu will come over and rush to buy it again, so I can't refuse. Don't worry about it, he won't be able to make it through these 2 days. If this Tingbao wants to fully use it, there is a set of procedures, and it can't be completed in a day or two. Just like Pafu's baby and his grandson, it may be difficult in the next 2 days. They will stay with their grandson and watch over them. Master Pafu will be fine if he can't make it through. If he doesn't come to fight, you can just sell this rattan treasure to Instructor Daika. Good boy, it's not a bad thing. I treated you to dinner. I still remember the goodness of the uncle. That's all right. I will treat you to a good meal later. Stardust. If you're enjoying my content, please consider donating a coffee. Or checking out my shirts on TeePublic. Although Instructor Daika said so, it was still in the afternoon and it was not time for meal, so there was no need to go to the cafeteria so early to reserve a seat. Xingchen and Instructor Daika watched the boys digging tunnels by the lake. In fact, this kind of staring method is also very boring. The work here is arranged by the 3 younger brothers very well, and other people can't join in. Xingchen and the others just stood outside the tunnel, watching Hua La and Ba Lu, taking out the plant wastes and dumping them out. There was nothing else to do, they could only chat and relieve boredom. 4 hours passed in a flash, and it was getting late. Instructor Daika invited Xingchen to have dinner together. Xingchen was also a little hungry, so he went together. When I went to the canteen, it was the same place as last time, and the food I ordered was still at the standard of 1,500 rels. This time, the spirit animal meat inside was a little different. It was another 093 kind of meat, but it contained the psychic powers are about the same. After dinner, Xingchen and Daika still returned to the lake and waited. At this moment, the tunnel has been dug in for more than 30 meters. According to this progress, it will take at least 14 hours for the tunnel to be completely dug through. With such a long time, it is naturally impossible for Xingdust and the others to stare here all the time. Chen has exercised here again, and then he is going to go back to rest. Instructor Daika has been watching here for a day, and he is a little tired, but just in case, Daika left his nameplate in Walla's hand, and asked Xingchen to arrange it. If anyone asks about this place, just let Walla report Daika's name, and he will come over to solve it. Since Daika is willing to take charge of this matter, Xingchen naturally has a lot of courage, so at least he will get rid of the reputation of stealing other people's things. After making arrangements, Xingchen and Daika returned to the dormitory respectively. Xingchen still arranged 2 guards at the door, and he went to bed to rest. Nothing happened all night, Xingchen had a good night's sleep. After getting up the next day, Xingchen took a shower first, then took a bite of a spiritual fruit and strolled to the lake. Stardust came quite early, but when he got here, Daika was already standing there supervising the work. Hey! What is this old man doing here so early? It would take 5 or 6 hours to get through this passage. Even if he came so early, it would be useless. Xingchen went forward to say good morning to Daika, and was also waiting beside him. At this time, the passage has been opened for more than 90 meters, but the vines behind are relatively thick and hard, and the difficulty of clearing has not increased. When it was almost noon, the passageway was completely opened, and the vine treasure had been completely exposed. This time, Instructor Daika was sure that there really was Fuji treasure inside, and immediately used the communicator to communicate with others in a hurry. Shinchan didn't care about him, anyway. This thing was sold to Daika, and whether he gave it away or sold it was his own business, and Shinchan couldn't control it. When Dang Dang tidied up the space inside and was about to cut off the Fuji treasure, Instructor Daika asked Shinchan to stop first, and waited for him to have a confirmation letter to confirm who wanted to buy it, and then cut off the Ting treasure. Stardust is a bit speechless, and only now is looking for a buyer, but when this thing is on the vine, the energy loss is a little slower, once it is cut off. Because both ends are broken, the energy loss will be much faster, yes, so the instructor said wait a minute, then wait. Fortunately, less than 10 minutes after the time passed, there was a letter of approval from the instructor. Probably a certain student gathered together lol, and Daika got the approval letter, and immediately asked Shinchan to arrange to cut off the Rattan treasure. Shinchan didn't dare to delay, and let Dang Dang start immediately. A little over 11 minutes later, this vine treasure was also cut off safely. This time, Huala drove Tingbao out in a small suspension car. These two younger brothers also sent out one each, and I don't know if they are scheduled to go to work. When Daika saw Tingbao transported out of the passage, he also went up to meet it. I saw that the Rattan treasure in front of me was one size bigger than the previous one. The energy in this Rattan treasure is also fuller, obviously this one's appearance is better. Boy Stardust, this vine treasure product is better than the previous one, and I won't take advantage of you. This one is priced at 850,000 rels. What do you think? The price offered by Instructor Daika is naturally fair, but Instructor, do you want me to give you a discount? I think you are going to sell it to others, and you must make some money in the middle. No need, I'm not Pafu's old boy. I can't take advantage of a little bit. Although I sold this item to someone else, I didn't increase the price, but the other party is a junior who has some relationship with me. This time I can buy it at the market price. Buying Tingbao already owes me a favor, and every year in the future, filial piety and the like will be indispensable. You don't need to worry about this. Now that the instructor said so, Shinchan will not be troublesome anymore. Instructor Daika didn't give money on the spot, but Shinchan is not afraid of him running away. This amount of money is not enough to make an old instructor shameless to do such a thing. Here, Shinchan arranged for the younger brother to install the Ting treasure in the back compartment of the instructor's car, and then thoughtfully covered it with some vine leaves. Shinchan also discussed with the instructor. It is best to keep the origin of this vine treasure secret, so as not to let Uncle Pafu know that it was dug out by Shinchan, and then cause any unhappiness. This side was covered, and Daika on the other side raised the speed of the car and rushed out. It seemed that he wanted to deliver the goods in a hurry, to avoid losing too much energy. The two Rattan treasures here were dug up, although one of them didn't get the money, but the other party would not renege on the debt. Naturally, Shinchan settled the account according to the money received. It took Zingdust less than 2 full days for the two vine treasures, and they earned a total of 1.41 million rels. It was a windfall, and it was a pleasant surprise. With this money, it is probably enough to eat 2 meals of spirit beast meat for the next year. The little brother packed up his things, and Shinchan also returned to the 1.6 dormitory in the suspension car. The vines and other plants here still need to be removed. In the past 2 days, work was stopped to dig vine treasures. In the area that has been cleared, some plants have spread from the area that has not been cleared, and it feels like it is going to flood. Stardust is still a little convinced by these plants. It has only been more than 2 days since they were cleaned, and a large section has grown again. Anyway, the younger brothers are all free now, so naturally they started to clear the plant forest around the dormitory. This time Stardust can't be idle. Dang Dang naturally still drives a professional clearing car, slammed the big suspension car, and used a small clearing machine to clean up the plants in the yard. The other floating vehicle had to be Stardust come on. But Shinchan didn't care about doing some work, so he cooperated with Walla to transport the waste one by one. After working for about an hour, Shinchan came back from dumping the waste from the lake, and saw instructor Daika standing not far from Dongdong's cleaning vehicle. Stardust stepped forward and greeted. Instructor Daika nodded, and then took 850,000 RALs and handed it to Xingchen. This is handed over there, and Tingbao has been sold to students. Xingchen didn't refuse, so he took the money and put it in his pocket. Daika didn't leave after giving the money, but stood on the side chatting with Xingchen, and at the same time became the industry supervisor. From the mouth of Daika's instructor, Xingchen also knew the students who had bought the vine treasure, and immediately started to climb the ladder after getting it. But this student is not blood relative to instructor Daika, so there is no need for him to stand by like Uncle Pafu. The student has his own subordinates at his disposal, so the things that need to be done next are naturally arranged properly, so there is no need for Daika instructor to worry about it. The 2 vine treasures dug up by Xingchen this time are of good quality. After the grandson of Uncle Pafu and the student who bought the vine treasures use them, the chances of success in climbing the ladder are very high. If both of them successfully reach the 4th level of the prefecture level, then the strength of the Xinchuan Budokan will naturally increase by 25 in this ranking battle. Not to mention aspiring to the 1st place, the top 5 should be able to win. Stardust was also a little speechless after hearing this. This side spent a lot of money, using 2 vine treasures to guarantee the advancement and increase strength, but in the end they could only fight for the top 5. If this was not blessed by Tingbao, what would the dish be like? Of course, these words are not easy to say. Xingchen can just mutter in his stomach. If he really wants to say it, he will probably get beaten. However, instructor Daika has lived for so long, so he is naturally a human being. Seeing that Xingchen didn't take it seriously, he also explained it. It turns out that at this time, not only the Xinchuan Budokan will use things like Rattan treasures to increase their strength, but other powerful Budokans will naturally have some rich students who use the same method to rush. Order. There are too many martial arts halls that have advanced, those who have not advanced will naturally fall behind. Even if Uncle Pafu's grandson has successfully passed the ranks this time, the main opponent will probably be students from other martial arts gyms who have also passed the ranks. At that time, they still have to fight for their own martial arts level and play the situation on the spot. The situation that Daika said is possible. There are things like Tingbao here. As long as you have some strength, you will naturally try your best to get them. When there are more people who rely on this, everyone's level will be the same again. We still have to fight for real hard power. Xingchen has no objection to this either. He is not a student in Xinchuanli, nor is he related to anyone, he is just a resident who pays rent. It has nothing to do with him what the ranking battle here is like. But it's not wrong to say that there is nothing to do with a dime. After all, Xingchen earned 1.41 million RALs from it. Instructor Daika chatted here for more than an hour, and was a little tired, so he greeted Xingchen and went back to rest. The instructor is not young anymore. For the sake of Tingbao, he has been staying by the lake for a whole day and most of today's day. After a long time, his body couldn't bear it. After all, he was not a young man like Xingchen. But before leaving, I made an appointment with Xingchen to have dinner together at night. Xingchen stayed here for 2 days as a martial arts officer, and had 2 dinners with instructor Daika. Seeing that on the 3rd day, the instructor wanted to treat him, he thought about inviting him back. But the instructor disagreed, saying that the previous 2 meals were to thank Xingchen for clearing the plant forest, but today's dinner was to thank Xingchen for selling vine treasures. The 2 were not related and should not be confused. Just please. Even an old man like instructor Daika has rich life experience, so the reason for inviting a guest can be changed. The cleaning work lasted until the evening meal, and most of the yard of the Stardust dormitory had already been cleared. The remaining part could be cleaned up with about half of the unfinished work. As for the part outside the courtyard that Dang Dang cleared, after hard work, an area of nearly 200 square meters was cleared. Looking at the results of the younger brothers in the afternoon, Xingchen was very happy, so he gave the younger brothers a holiday and could rest at night. Of course, the main reason is that the noise of the cleaning equipment is too loud, which will affect other people's rest at night. Then Daika came over to have dinner with Xingchen. Xingchen now seriously suspects that Daika is looking for a place to treat himself to dinner in order to find someone to join him for dinner. Of course, Xingchen himself really needed dinner, and if Daika didn't invite him, he would go to dinner himself. After Xingchen and Daika had dinner, they went to exercise again, and then went back to the house to rest. The next day's work was still the same, and the removal work would take many days to complete. After another half-day of work, he finished cleaning up the yard. Apart from some falling debris, there was no vine left in the yard of the entire dormitory. Seeing that the small clearing machine stopped and finished clearing the yard, Xingchen, as an old man, wanted to check it out. He got off the suspension car here, entered the yard and was patrolling around, ran to the suspension car in a sloppy manner, climbed up to the control seat a few times, and then skillfully drove the suspension car to replace the already loaded car. The location of the full car. This sluggish work is quite active. Although he is a little smaller, his work efficiency is not bad. At least his attitude of rushing to work is worthy of praise. There is no need for Xingchen to drive the 710 car, Xingchen is also idle. However, there was still some waste left in the yard, and it didn't look too clean, so Xingchen took a broom and other tools to clean up the small yard. The environment is clean, and Stardust is comfortable to live in. Previously on the Waste Star, except for the spaceship cabin, it was better. The other places were full of waste. The feeling of being full of waste, Stardust really didn't want to recall it anymore. Now that I live in the dormitory of Budokan, I naturally want to improve the environment around me. After finishing the work in the yard, Xingchen went to check on the work of the younger brothers, but I found that when Dang Dang cleared the plant forest, a large stone carving was cleared out. This thing is on a piece of rough stone paved ground, it should be some kind of landscape. At present, only a small corner of this stone carving has been cleaned up, but the exposed carvings can be seen to be some human figures. These carvings look quite exquisite, and there are some texts next to the human figures. Xingchen was a little curious about what it was, so he leaned forward to observe it. I was watching it vigorously, but suddenly a sentence came from behind. This is the basic movement and stillness method here in Amaya. These words almost made Xingchen jump up in fright, and when he looked back, he realized that the Daika church had come behind him at some point. It was not yet noon at this moment. Instructor Daika wandered back from nowhere, happened to see Xingchen studying this stone carving, so he spoke to inform. Although this sound almost frightened Xingchen, the young people didn't care about it. It wasn't like some older people who were weak in energy and would poke over when they were suddenly frightened and never wake up again. Seeing that Xingchen turned his head to listen to his speech, Instructor Daika continued, this stone carving was carved by a well-known master when the museum was built, and the carving on it is the most suitable stone on the planet Amaya after intensive research and adjustment. 18 postures of movement, stillness and movement. Don't you have this over there? Instructor Daika, our place originally lacked aura, and such exercises that require aura support are not suitable for our use, so they have long been discarded. I have never practiced this thing. You haven't practiced this kind of dynamic and static exercises? Could it be that you have reached the ground level only by physical training? Yes, I haven't practiced it. When I was in school, I did all kinds of physical fitness training, but I haven't reached the ground level yet. The last test, I should have just reached the human level. How long has it been since the last evaluation? I think your current level is almost at the Earth level. However, these evaluations are not very reliable, so don't worry about it. You have come to Amaya now, but you have to learn. For this dynamic and static exercise, you can reach the Earth level by just relying on physical training, so if you learn the corresponding exercise, you will definitely improve very quickly. Come, don't worry about removing plants. Anyway, your robot can do it. Come here, I will teach you this set of dynamic and static exercises. Instructor Daika didn't wait for Xingchen to object after finishing speaking, and dragged him to an open space. Xingchen was working as a supervisor, but he was pulled aside by the instructor to learn this dynamic and static exercise, and he was a little speechless. But this kind of exercise is useful for Xingchen, not to mention the past. Now that Xingchen has come to Amaya, he has a practice place with rich aura. It is inevitable to learn this static and dynamic exercise. Now someone is teaching him, and Xingchen is also very happy. This is much better than finding a place to pay a fee to learn. Instructor Daika is very experienced in teaching people how to learn martial arts. After retiring, he may not be able to teach students to be idle, so there will be a temporary student named Singdust, which is also quite exciting. Stardust reminded me, Instructor Daika, do you need to clean up that stone carving first, and then follow the instructions engraved on it? Daika waved his hand to say no, that stone inscription is just a decoration. The exercises on it are everywhere. There is no secret. Don't you have a linker? Come, I will pass it on to you. Having said that, Daika asked for Xingchen's number, and after adding it, he sent a copy of the exercise. Stardust was a little speechless. Originally, I thought that the stone carving was a good thing. After I cleared it out, I secretly wrote down the content of the stone carving, and then practiced in private, but I didn't want this thing to be available everywhere. But now Daika has passed a copy over, so Stardust naturally started to study it. As soon as Xingchen finished watching the two forms, Daika became a little impatient. It's useless if you just look at it. Come on, put the first pose on, and I'll teach you the main points of the first pose. Well, there will be someone to teach it, and self-research is naturally not as fast as someone else's direct teaching. And these points are the key points. Whether you learn well or not depends on how well you master these points. It was the first time to learn this movement and stillness technique. Xingchen was very attentive, but it took a full 5 hours to learn it. It's not that Xingchen is too stupid, because he can't even learn these 18 moves and has to teach them over and over again, but Daika didn't teach all 18 moves in one go. The instructor taught the 18 moves, one move at a time. Whenever Xingchen was proficient, he would wait for a moment before continuing to teach the next move. It is said that this is because at the beginning of practice, the body cannot immediately adapt to the operation of spiritual energy in the body. If you practice all the moves at once, the circulation network in the body will be eroded by spiritual energy and damaged. This damage is probably what the Chinese people mean by damage to the meridians. Xingchen has been taught. If he practiced it by himself, he would probably practice it all at once. If he was not affected, he probably wouldn't be able to find anything wrong, and would only think it was the effect of his practice. It was getting late for Xingchen to learn the sky, and he finally learned all the 18 moves. Although I have practiced all afternoon, I don't feel any discomfort in my body. This is due to the rich experience of the instructor Daika. Xingchen was also quite grateful for this, and decided to bring some good materials to the instructor for him when he went back to buy goods. After teaching all the exercises, Instructor Daika was happier than Xingchen, just like a fisherman who has not been able to fish for several years and now suddenly has the opportunity to take a few shots. No, after Instructor Daika taught this set of exercises, seeing that it was getting late, he took Xingchen to dinner again. This time, Instructor Daika still wants to treat. The reason is that Xingchen finally cleaned out the signboard of the dormitory, that is, the stone carving, which made the scenery of the dormitory much better, so he wanted to invite Xingchen to dinner. It seems that this reason is a bit far-fetched. Is this stone carving so important? I haven't heard them talk about it before. However, Xingchen could not tolerate objections, so Daika drove over and took Xingchen to the restaurant. Well, let's treat the guests, just buy some gifts and send them back. Thinking of this, Xingchen enjoyed the dinner with peace of mind. After returning to the dormitory after dinner, Xingchen arranged for the younger brothers to rest. After exercising, he went to bed with peace of mind. The next morning, Stardust's robot brothers started the cleaning work for the day. Xingchen was checking the work on the side, and just started for a while. Dead Zhao, the instructor Daika, came to the side. #Why are you still playing here? You have to hurry up to practice, and you have to think about it every moment. Woke up this morning, what a good time to practice, but you come here to play, you are so disappointing. Stardust. Without waiting for Xingchen to reply, Instructor Daika took Xingchen to the open space yesterday and supervised Xingchen to practice. Xingchen said, "Who am I and where am I? Why am I being oppressed to practice when I am at leisure?" However, Daika didn't care about these things. He continued to guide Xingchen to practice one move after another according to what he taught yesterday. "Forget it, let's practice. It's good for you to increase your strength anyway." Thinking this way, Xingchen didn't care about the strict teaching methods of Instructor Daika. Here, under the supervision of Instructor Daika, Xingchen worked hard to practice the 18 movements of the movement and stillness exercises. It took about 2 hours before the whole training was over. This end is only the completion of the dynamic and static exercises, and then Instructor Daika asked Xingchen to carry out daily physical training. It is said that after practicing dynamic and static exercises and absorbing the corresponding spiritual energy, physical training will be more conducive to the body's utilization of spiritual energy. Xingchen usually also does physical training, so he is used to these and doesn't find it difficult. He was training vigorously, only to hear the whistling sound of the suspension car, and then Uncle Pafu came running with the car. Uncle Pafu's car drove up to Stardust and got out of the car. "Zingdust boy, this is the beginning of cultivation, Your strength is a bit weak. This is because I know that my grandson has successfully passed the 4th step of the earth level, and there is pressure, so work hard. Your news is still full. You are well informed. However, in terms of cultivation, you can't rush for success overnight. You'd better sign up at the Budokan and study formally." Stardust. Did I just say something? Why would Master Pafu think that I practiced because of his grandson? Instructor Daika couldn't see Master Pafu's behavior in 920, so he said, "I said, Old Man Pafu, if your grandson succeeds in the ladder, it's a big deal. Maybe someone else will succeed in the ladder tomorrow. It's nothing to brag about." Uncle Pafu raised his head, "Humph. Is it so easy for you to become a stepper? Someone else will succeed tomorrow. My grandson's strength has arrived, and with the help of the newly acquired Tingbao, he succeeded. No one else has such an opportunity." "It's not certain, Pafu. I heard that there are other people who have made the leap recently, and I don't know if they succeed or not. Crossing the ladder is not so easy. People do it every day, but there are very few successful ones. Let's not talk about this. Stardust boy, your place is ready. When are you going to buy it?" My grandson succeeded in rushing to the ranks in one fell swoop, and a large group of students who made trouble are full of self-motivation, and they are all ready to fight in the near future. These students need to redouble their cultivation and strengthen their strength, and this good meal is indispensable, so the spirit beasts that entered the cafeteria meat will be out of stock. "No, I need goods here, and I thought of you first." "Then thank you, Mr. Pafu, but I just rested for 2 or 3 days. Can't I wait a few days before buying goods? I remember that some big merchants should have come back from Dolanxing in the past 2 days, and they didn't work there." "Animal meat?" Uncle Pafu coughed lightly and said, "Of course they have the spirit beast meat in stock, but when I go to buy it, they are not willing to give a discount, and they also said that this time the new spirit beast meat has just arrived, so there is no discount for fresh goods. You have to know, sir, I buy goods in several large boxes. If there is no discount, the price difference will be tens of thousands of laras." It's because I want a bargain that I thought of me." Xingchen was arguing endlessly, but when others came to ask for goods, it was profitable for him. "Master Pafu, what kind of goods are you planning to order this time? How much do you want? I'll see if you can bring them all back." "Well, this time, we need to buy more spirit beast meat. 5 boxes and 8 boxes are fine. You can transport as much as you can. Spirit fruits can also be imported. Spirit food takes up more space, even if the discount is not much less. Don't go in." "Okay, then I'll pack up and set off. It will take about 2 days to go back and forth." 2 days, just 2 days. These 2 days I will take less goods from those merchants, and wait for your batch to come over. Okay, this time I'll bring the goods back and bring them directly to the Budokan, instead of going to the market. Okay, just send me a message when you come back. Hurry up, there is a shortage of goods in the restaurant. W. Having said all this, Uncle Pafo got on his suspension vehicle and roared away again. Humph, I think Pafo can be proud for a few days. The student who bought the vine treasure will probably succeed in a day or two. Let the old man know that he is not the only one who can succeed in the step. Instructor Daika, that student used the vine treasure to jump up the steps. Don't let it out that, Kfei, I dug the vine treasure, lest Master Pafo will get annoyed and come to trouble me. I'm still counting on Master Pafo. How many more shipments do you want over there? Okay, don't worry, no one knows about this. After Xingchen told Daika to keep the secret, he was ready to set off and Lin Xing bought the goods. Duo Lin Xing, Walla, and Dang Dang are naturally to be brought back this time. It is useless for the two guard robots to go outside, so they should stay in the dormitory to guard the door. There is also this little guy. Even if you go with Duo Lin Xing, it is of little use, so I won't take it this time. Stardust asked Dang Dang and Walla to disassemble their small suspension car and put it on the spaceship, and then told Chilio to stay here. During the day, they can clean up the plants outside the dormitory. I go back to the dormitory at night, and I can't work and make noise. After arranging the chores, Xingchen said goodbye to Instructor Daika, and boarded the spaceship with Dang Dang and Walla. The small spaceship has just replaced many new parts, and even the main engine has been replaced with a new model with more powerful horsepower. This time the spaceship is full of power. Stardust started the spaceship, much less noise than before, the main engine blew lightly, and the spaceship flew out of the atmosphere. It seems that the performance of the spaceship has improved a lot this time. Outside the atmosphere, Xingdu drove the spaceship to point at Duo Lin Xing's position, then the engine accelerated, and the spaceship rushed forward. A few minutes later, the shadow of Xingdu's spaceship disappeared outside the atmosphere. Of course, it is impossible for Stardust's small spaceship to fly to Duo Lin Xing so quickly. Although the spaceship has been upgraded a lot this time, the acceleration and deceleration time has only been reduced by about 1 hour. That is to say, the small spacecraft originally needed 6 hours to accelerate to the speed of light and then enter the dimensional space. After the upgrade, it still needs a little more than 5 hours of acceleration time. The time it took to go to Duo Lin Xing last time was a little over 13 hours, but this time it took less than 12 hours to get there. The road is still very boring. Stardust is still the old rule, lying on the control chair to read information. When I arrived at Duo Lin Xing, it was almost night here, and Xingchen didn't want to buy goods overnight, and others didn't necessarily welcome them. So after Stardust parked the spaceship, he completed the parking card. From the administrator, I asked about the address of a hotel that specially accommodates merchants at the venue. Xingchen asked Hua La to assemble the suspension car. One person and 2 younger brothers sat in the car, and flew towards the hotel in a hurry. The hotel is located in the center of the whole venue, and it is a very large building. Because this is a temporary meeting place, the building of this hotel is also temporary, but it looks similar to the big hotels on the earth, except that the floors are not high, only about 4 floors. Stardust has gone through the accommodation procedures, and he can stay here for only 1 day, but the accommodation fee is not cheap, 3,000 RALs a day, only including 1 meal. Xingchen brought his 2 younger brothers to his room under the guidance of the receptionist. There is only a place to rest and take a bath? Don't think about it, this hotel should have a centralized large bathhouse, but Xingchen was too lazy to take a bath, so he just took a rest. When I woke up in the morning, there was no place for Xingchen to wash up, so I could only rub my face with my hands, which was regarded as dry cleaning. After going out the door, there are dedicated reception staff on the aisle outside. Xingchen asked about the dining location, but it didn't matter whether he asked or not, because the receptionist directly led Xingchen there. Many people in the dining area have already eaten, but the meals provided here are all common goods. Thinking about it, the accommodation cost is only 3,000 lar, and the free meals, how much better can it be? However, because of the fact that this meal is in a livestock farming area, the common meat is quite enough, and there are also small pieces of fruit, which can be regarded as relatively balanced nutrition. After eating this free breakfast, Xingchen went to the service area to complete the checkout procedures, and then he was ready to buy goods. After the goods were purchased, Xingchen went back to Amaya Star directly. There was no need to stay in this hotel again, so there was no need stay. This time, Xingchen went to the store where he bought the big box of spirit beast meat last time. When he entered the store, a receptionist immediately greeted him. Stardust took a look, It's still the same one from last time. Xingchen was also impressed by this reception. Seeing that Xingchen came back for the second time, this attitude was also somewhat enthusiastic. Xingchen took a look around in the store, and this time the goods were pretty good. The receptionist led Xingchen to look at the goods, and after introducing his own goods, he asked what kind of goods Xingchen needed. Xingchen now has more than 2.2 million RALs in his hand, and he can buy 7 boxes of meat products, but his own spaceship knows that it can't hold many things at all. The space of rhubarb can hold 5 boxes of meat products, plus a dozen boxes of spirits. Fruit. Putting a box of meat on the spaceship is fine, and if there is another box, the estimated speed will affect the comparison. So for this purchase, Xingchen is going to buy 6 boxes of spirit beast meat, plus another 20 boxes of spirit fruits. If there is more, the spaceship will not be able to bear it. When the receptionist heard that Xingchen was going to buy 6 large boxes of spirit beast meat, the enthusiasm on his face increased a bit. The value of this spirit beast meat is not low. 6 boxes of meat are equivalent to dozens of times that of common meat. For these 6 big boxes of spirit beast meat, Xingchen chose 6 different types, which can be regarded as a change of taste for the students and instructors in the martial arts hall. Of course, the prices of these types of spirit beast meat are similar. The receptionist saw that Xingchen had picked out the type of meat he wanted, and was about to make an order to pick up the goods. He also said congratulations to Xingchen for his prosperous business. Xingchen shook his head and replied, "It doesn't make much money. I have a big customer who wants goods, and every time he wants goods, he will lower the price by a few points, which makes me count all kinds of costs, and there is no profit." How much? When the receptionist heard this, he felt a little sympathetic, and of course it was probably for the sake of business. "My guest, please wait a moment. I'll ask the supervisor to see if I can apply for a discount for you." Huh? Is there such a good thing? Stardust will naturally have to wait a while after hearing the words. Although the discount may be only a little, but the value of the goods is almost 2 million RALs, and the discount for 1 point is more than 10,000. Wait for this little time, what are you afraid of? After a while, the receptionist turned around with joy on his face. "Guest, I asked the supervisor for instructions. We can give you a discount on the same price. I hope your business will continue to be as good as this." Not bad. Calculated in this way, even if Uncle Pafu still offers a 3-point discount, his own profit will still be huge. Of course, even without this little discount, Stardust would have earned a lot of lol. After the price has been negotiated, the receptionist will bill and pick up the goods, and Xingchen pays for the goods and picks up the goods. After a set of procedures, the order is completed. The reception staff arranged for Xingchen's 6 large boxes of spirit beast meat to be loaded onto his suspension car. The service here is not bad, and the delivery doesn't even need Xingchen's little brother to help. Good. The service of others is good, so Stardust will naturally not be stingy with a word. Your service is good, I will look for you next time I buy something. Xingchen's words naturally earned him 1,000 thanks for the reception. Others are counting on long-term customers like Zingdust to improve their performance. So before Xingchen left, he had an extra card for this reception in his pocket, which could be regarded as a relatively fixed relationship. After buying spirit beast meat at home, Xingchen moved to another shop that sold spirit beast meat. This is the store where Stardust bought the small box of spirit beast meat last time. The last time I bought 2 small boxes of spirit beast meat, Xingchen gave away 1 box, and I wanted to eat the other box for myself, but it turned out that Uncle Pafu bought it. Of course, this box of spirit beast meat made money, but Xingchen originally wanted to eat it himself, so if the uncle bought this box of meat, Xingqian would lose his fortune. This time Stardust came to Duo Linxing to buy goods again, so naturally he wanted to buy another box to taste for himself, and another box was also needed to be given away by Instructor Daika. If he didn't return the salute, Xingqian would feel embarrassed. In this way, you need to buy 2 small boxes of spirit beast meat. Of course, the store just now can also buy spirit beast meat in small boxes. But the packaging of that shop was a little bit bad. The large box of spirit beast meat was wholesale, but the packaging of this small box of spirit beast meat was really bad. It would not look very good if it was given away. The packaging of the spirit beast meat in this store is not only beautiful, but also has more types of spirit beast meat, and you can buy small portions, that is, like Xingqian did last time, several kinds of spirit beast meat are combined into a small box by like this. This makes Stardust a lot more convenient. Buying a small box can taste several different kinds of spirit beast meat. So this time Stardust came running again. Here is also Xingqian's acquaintance. Seeing Xingqian coming in, he also stepped forward to greet him. Here, Xingqian chose 12 different kinds of spirit beast meat, each of which weighed 4 to 5 catties. There were 6 kinds of spirit beast meat in a small box, and the 2 boxes added up to 12 different kinds of meat. There is a reason for this choice. Xingqian was going to give Instructor Daika a box of spirit beast meat as a gift, but the instructor often asked himself to accompany him to eat together, so that he might be able to eat the box of spirit beast meat from the instructor. So in order to taste more meat, Xingqian filled 2 small boxes of spirit beast meat with different varieties. I didn't buy many goods in this store, only these 2 small boxes, so the receptionist didn't give Xingqian any discounts, and just made an order according to the price standard last time. It doesn't matter to Stardust either. These 2 small boxes of spirit beast meat don't add up to much money, and it doesn't matter if there is no discount, as long as it feels good to eat. After the rest of the procedure of paying the money and picking up the goods is completed, the business will be completed. Next, Xingqian went to buy 4 kinds of spiritual fruits, a total of 20 boxes, and only 5 boxes of each kind of spiritual fruit. This is to be supplied to the Budokan. In addition, Xingqian also bought 2 boxes of spiritual fruits, picking the one he likes, 2 boxes of 2 varieties of spiritual fruits. This is for myself to eat. Of course, when Instructor Daika usually teaches himself, he also needs to bring some spiritual fruits and the like to treat others to eat, so he also needs to prepare an extra box of spiritual fruits. After the stocking was completed, when he was walking back, Xingqian passed by a shop selling spiritual food, and went to buy 5 small packages of spiritual food, all of which were of different varieties. Naturally, such small bags are not for sale. The food sold in the Budokan restaurant is too expensive, and Xingqian is going to cook for himself, so he needs to prepare some spiritual food. The large package of spiritual food is too large, it is not cost-effective, so Xingqian even bought 5 packages of this small package. After receiving the goods, Xingqian didn't delay any longer, and went directly back to the parking place of the spaceship in the car. Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.